Hello and welcome to my what is it, like fourth and a half or third and a half, fourth and a half, whatever match in the Dominion League season. I have half a match to go with the True Q, but today I am playing wendel54. The situation is that I need 5 wins across the 9 games that I have left to guarantee promotion. So hopefully I can do that. Okay, so we've got a 5-2, which is pretty exciting with Recruiter and Governor on the board. I'm trying to think if there's any reason, maybe the Governor itself doesn't make that so exciting. I'm trying to think if there's any reason I wouldn't get a Recruiter. I can't really think of one. But what else have we got going on this kingdom? We don't really have draw other than Governor itself, which is annoying. Still think I would like a Recruiter. So we're gonna want to. I mean, we can get thin, certainly. We may want to pick up a Spice Merchant. Recruiter trashing coppers isn't the worst thing, but it's not amazing. There's a lot of villages, so getting like a second Recruiter, feeding Recruiter, that sort of thing shouldn't be too relevant. Artificer seems like it's going to have a tough time doing very much, given the relatively small hand size. Falconer has no dual types to react to, so not much doing there. So really we're just looking at focusing on the governors. I'm going to pick up a Spice Merchant, but I think I'm going to want to grab a governor pretty much as soon as possible. You can gain governors with Way of the Rat to get them faster. That's pretty nice. Mining villages might be nice to have for like the last turn to be able to reach to grab an extra province or something like that. Otherwise, I guess port is fine. I was really hoping to find my Spice Merchant and get a governor here. No such luck. So do I want some ports? I mean, I don't have any terminals except this Recruiter right now. I guess port's fine. I don't really want to add a villa to my deck right now. I'm going to probably want... Oh, I could get one Changeling. I don't think I want to do that right now. So I could just go... Well, I guess there's no draw in which I don't get a governor here. Just kidding. I'm an idiot. All right. Man. Rough stuff. Do I just take Mining Village? I guess I'll take Mining Village. Yeah, I should have gone coins there to buy governor. It was a mistake. I don't know why I was thinking if I draw Recruiter, I get to trash the estate, but I also draw more of the coppers. But yeah, that was... Second Recruiter seems kind of crazy to me. This is all a little silly. But we get our governor. This time Spice Merchant can't draw an estate. I am going to want some plus buys, so at some point I am going to want to pick up a villa. I guess. I mean, I could do Snowy Village, I guess. Okay, so there's no way... I guess I could trash... There's no way to get second governor here. I guess I kind of need silver. I could get a changeling instead of a silver. I think I'm going to do that. I could also pop Mining Village. I might need to, actually, to be able to afford another governor. Or not another changeling, if I'd rather. I also need to be careful about not trashing all of my copper. Lest I be unable to rat. I don't know, maybe I don't need plus buy on this board. What money are we going to have? Just really wish there was some draw. I mean, we could be taking artificers, I guess, to get some money, but it's just so expensive for the peddler effect if we're not using the actual artificer. So in theory, if I draw my deck here, and I only have 2 other stop cards in here, I can get 3 governors, but I don't know if I can actually do it. Ooh, could gain a changeling. I think I will do that. I don't know if I'll be able to get to it this turn, but I think it'll be worth it regardless. Like, the governors aren't going to pile before my next turn, so... Alright, so should I trash the mining village? Just for 2 coins? I don't think I should. Okay, this is good enough. Although it turns out I don't have enough money to buy anything. Even so. I would have needed to... I don't know what I would have needed to do. I just shouldn't have trashed the mining villages. Mining village, singular. Oh well. Anyway, we got to 5 governors. My opponent has 2. We got a changeling in our deck, so we're looking pretty alright from that perspective. Probably don't take changeling this turn. I'd also consider trashing port instead of copper, depending on how many governors there are left. After my opponent's turn. I don't expect my opponent to play governor for remodel. If they did, I think I would just turn a port into a governor. I'm going to take the silver here. All right. I think I'm going to start with Spice Merchant. We don't need another copper left at this point. Yeah, we can rat right now if we want to. Which means, would we rather trash copper with recruiter or trash port? I guess probably copper. Okay, so it's time to start gaining golds. Apparently I had 1 more copper than I thought. I don't really want changelings at this point. I do maybe want to think about plus buy, though. We're going to end up with a bunch of silvers in our deck. I don't know if we are or not. I guess having an extra recruiter just to cycle through the silvers could be nice. Spice Merchant can do it too. I mean, so far I only have 2 silvers. 3 silvers. Or for draw. All right. All right. Interesting that my opponent didn't want any plus buy there. I mean, I'm not sure if they should have wanted that. Okay, so my opponent has 4 governors. Realistically, all right, we're gonna have to draw here, obviously. Let's play recruiter. We can take 3 provinces. Can my opponent realistically get 4 provinces? It sure doesn't seem very likely. Take 3 provinces, take 2 golds. The alternative option is... well, I'm going to gain at least 1 province. The alternative option is to leave an extra province, I guess. It's a weirdly desperate move. Alright, so, well, now we're going to gain gold at least once. And again... Now the question is, are we scared of our opponent's ability to take 4 provinces? I'm really not. So we do have a port that we can turn into a duchy, but it's hard for me to imagine a scenario in which that matters. Like if my opponent empties provinces, they just win. If they don't, I'm finding it hard to believe that I would rather have a duchy than draw through another card. Okay, it's a good sign. That's a good sign, although I don't like having 2 provinces top decked, but at least I drew through them. So yeah, at most, at this point, my opponent could get 3 provinces, and even that is, yeah, unlikely, I was going to say. They just don't have that much gold left. Or no, I guess they do have a decent amount of gold, but... They might be able to buy double province if they have more gold than I think, but I don't... I doubt it. Very nice of them to draw me so many cards, though, I must say. Yeah, they're... Yeah, okay, no, they can double province, but... Now all I have to do is get 1 province. I mean, I guess... Maybe I should have gotten it. If I get a province and they get a duchy, I mean, I'll be able to buy a duchy. I don't necessarily have to use remodel at all, actually. Well, they only bought 1 province. Okay. All right, there's 2 golds. So we can remodel into 2 provinces. We're at 30 points. If they remodel into 2 duchies, they're at 27 and we win. So why did I do this? Guess I could have bought Annex too. Doesn't matter. OK button's not working. Great. Let's... Oh, well... I believe my opponent went first there. I was going to say, I don't know how to explain that without looking at it. Okay, so what do we got here? We got Sanctuary for thinning. The draw is Nobles or Scholar. Can you do a Scholar thing here? Doesn't really look like it. Or the Druid boons. Earth's Gift's not bad at all. I might actually grab a Druid in the open here. Grab a Sanctuary. We could go Sculptor. Sculptor looks pretty good. But I think I'm gonna get started on my thinning. Having back-to-back 5/2s, it's not to be expected. I guess I could borrow for silver, but I don't really see the point. Like, if I don't hit 5 this shuffle, it's probably fine. So, I mean, I would like to get a Sculptor, but like, whatever. All right, do we just go straight in from Minstrel here? We've got plus buy, but I don't know. We could also borrow for Sculptor. Set it aside in a state, so, I mean, borrowing does increase the chances our Druid bottom deck, so I'm not super keen on that. Minstrel isn't really doing anything right now. It will once we add Sculptor to the deck. We could go double Patrician, but I don't really see the point. We could go Patrician Druid if we wanted an extra Druid. That, with Earth's Gift, that's not crazy. We're not going to have the plus buy next turn, but we're also not going to hit 4 next turn. So yeah, I'll pick up a Minstrel. And then here we can grab Minstrel Druid or Minstrel Patrician. Yeah, I think right now the Druid is actually better. Although if I want to hit 5, then having the Druid... Well, I've kind of just played Druid as Candlestick Maker, and then it's not hurting my money density for hitting Sculptor. Bad Candlestick Maker, or whatever you want to call it. Patrician only does something if it exactly finds Sculptor, which is not very exciting right now. Eventually it gets better for sure, though. I think I'm going to take the Patrician. I think second Druid right now is a little too greedy. I wonder if I meant to play Minstrel first or Patrician first, or if it matters. I mean, like... Yeah, I can't... It's very unlikely to matter, let's put it that way. Okay, I think I'm just going to borrow for Sculptor now. I want another Sanctuary, so I can start thinning coppers faster than not at all that I've been doing to this point. And yeah, I think I'm still going to take another Patrician for now. I think we're guaranteed to see our Sanctuary here to pair with our estate. I think. Yeah. Alright, I guess it doesn't matter really what order we put these in. Well, no, it does matter, but... And the point is we don't have like a... Is there a way to do like Sculptor into Patrician that's relevant? I don't think so. Alright, so we can go silver here, grab another Sanctuary and a Villager. We do have buys that we... Or sorry, actions that we could use with like a Minstrel to draw, but I don't really think that's that helpful. So I'm going to grab another Sanctuary. Now, what I probably really want is Nobles. This, if my opponent doesn't take a Patrician, this might be a turn where we Druid Earth's Gift for Patrician so that we can buy Emporium. Even though I did just say I wanted Nobles. It appears my opponent did not draw their last estate. I guess they already discarded it earlier in the turn. Lucky me. Be ahead on that. Feel free to buy that patrician. I don't mind. Nope. I want to gain all of my silvers from Sculptor for villagers, ideally. Aha! Aha, aha. Okay, I think we go like this. Ooh, nice. Okay. We did just chuck a bunch of crap into our discard. 4 coppers, it looks like. That would stand to reason. Oh, we are going to want to trigger the shuffle. Okay, well, we can slough all that off the top by sculpting another Wandering Minstrel, so that's fine. The only question is, do we instead want to consider... Sculpt for... So if I exile 2 coppers, I'm down to 4 coins. No, I'm still at... Yeah, I'm down at 4 coins, then I draw 1, and I'm still down to 4 coins. Then I play Sculptor, I go up to 5 coins. Then I play Druid, and I go down to 4 coins. So we might want to only... We might want to either stop here. If we sculpt silver, we can borrow for nobles and still use Druid. Or we just don't use Druid. We can also use Druid for coin. And then we could borrow for nobles. It's also possible that what I should actually be doing is getting another Sculptor, but I would like at least 1 nobles. Alright, well, I'm going to exile at least 1 copper any which way. Definitely not going to be top decking 3 coppers. So I'm either playing Sculptor to gain Minstrel, or the Minstrel draws a copper, and then the Sanctuary draws another copper. We exile that copper, we're at 5 coins. We can't get nobles and use Druid to gain something, but we can get nobles that way. Question is, do we actually maybe want another silver in our deck? Like, I think we might. So I think I'm going to... I think I'm going to sculpt silver. Druid. It's possible that it's incorrect for me to reduce my hand size in order to gain a Minstrel. I could definitely see that being the case. Or we could have used Sun's Gift to solve the problem. Huh. Yeah, whatever. I don't really need another Minstrel. Alright, you know what? This is what we're going to do. We're going to play the Sanctuary first. We're going to exile, and then we're going to Sun's Gift. Okay. I wonder if I should go Minstrel here off the Sculptor immediately in order to ensure that my patron sees actions and I don't just stop. I mean, I don't have that much other treasure in my deck. I have the 2 silvers, a couple more coppers, but it would still be nice to make sure. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I'll still have a villager. I've got lots of villages in my deck in general. I'm not super worried about not spending to villagers. That's what they're there for. Scholar. I don't think Scholar works on this board. Not enough economy available. Okay, there we go. We've got another Minstrel in hand, so I think what we want to do... in case we find another, or we don't have another patrician. Okay, so it doesn't matter. Never mind. We discarded 2 silvers, so we can draw all but one of those cards unless we have another draw card in there, which I don't think we do. Oh no, we have another sanctuary in there. Okay, so we can play, so it doesn't matter what order we play this in, I think. All right, do we want to take another minstrel? We could unlock Patrician Emporium, but I'm actually wondering if what I want is either another sculptor or another nobles. Like, I don't have a ton of money right now. I mean, Emporium gives me 1 coin, but minstrel definitely helps set up the draw here, like, a lot. So I think I'm going to take the minstrel. I guess if we take nobles, it makes it more likely we can sculpt silver with our 1 sculptor, which is just as good, basically, as getting another sculptor. So I think I am going to take another nobles. That looks delightful. So right now, yeah, I'm way ahead on the thinning, it would appear. My opponent's thinned 4 cards, I've thinned 7. My opponent also has more silver than I do. No nobles. Yeah. Feeling pretty far ahead here. I think if I were going to unlock Emporiums, I would do it on a turn where I could gain at least 2. Which could be this turn, I suppose. Updecked another minstrel. Alright, let's just nobles for cards now. I guess what we want to do is like that. We want to play Sanctuary. Are we? Yeah, we're confident that we're going to exile Copper. Okay. I think at this point it doesn't really matter what I do. Yeah. We could Druid for something like silver. Don't think that's totally ridiculous. All right, so right now we have 6, 7, 8, 9. Grab another nobles. Just take another silver? Don't need more buys. I don't want to buy the last patrician. I mean, honestly, we could just take an estate and then exile it, but that seems a little silly. Yeah, 1 more silver probably will help. I think we're building a silver-based economy here. So this is the turn where we get the multi Emporium, probably. I mean, I could have gotten it last turn if I'd taken... No, because then I wouldn't have had the silver. Never mind. I would have had to, like, not exile some copper or something. I was going to say if I'd borrowed and taken Patrician, but no, still not enough. Oh, my opponent managed to empty their hand. They made the scholar work. So I can imagine one scholar being viable in that way, but yeah, I don't know. If you run into a nobles first, then what? I mean, I guess you can play it for actions. What did they? Oh, they sculpted for a druid, then played the druid and discarded a card. So essentially, they got 2 cards out of their hand. Did they borrow last turn? No. Instrumental, sculptor for druid. You still have a hand size of 5. Play druid. 4. Oh, the scholar. Right. Okay, that makes sense. All right, there go all the minstrels. And piles are getting fairly low. Should I just play? Oh, I guess it doesn't matter. Top deck 2 patricians. Does turning my patricians into draw even matter? Probably not. All right, we've exiled all of our copper. We could literally like gain an exile in a state with our druid if we really wanted to. Let me see. I mean, we might as well play a nobles here. So we've got 10 coins in our deck right now. We gain the last patrician, we can double Emporium. We can do that with Druid, we can do it with Sculptor. Do we have enough draw to gain an exile in a state? It's pretty silly, and maybe we should just be gaining another silver. I'm a little leery of having too much silver in my deck. I'm gonna go ahead and grab that patrician. And guard up. So yeah, the question is, do we sculpt an estate or a silver? We're not going to really use the silver this turn. We could sculpt copper just for a villager. We don't really need a villager. Like, that extra point could definitely matter for pile out purposes. Well, not to mention lowering the estate pile. Next turn, we should have enough money to empty the Emporiums if my opponent doesn't touch them, although presumably they will. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. Seems pretty silly, but 5 cards in exile. So they still have 5 coppers in their deck. And 4 silvers to my 5. I also have an extra nobles. I have 2 druids, which doesn't seem like an advantage to me. Just wondering if I'm underplaying this. We're also at a point where we can start looking at like Emporium Province this turn. Of course, we can exile the province with Sanctuary, so our deck will stay nice and robust. This might be the first time my opponent is going to draw their deck. Maybe they'll be able to afford to empty the Emporiums. Will that... Can I hit 18 coins? I had 10 last turn. I can get to 12 with my Emporiums. I'm not going to be able to get 6 more coins. I'd have to... Yeah, I would need 1 more gainer than I have to be able to do it. I'm still thinking they probably shouldn't empty the Emporiums, but maybe they should. I don't know. Like, if I go Province Nobles after they empty Emporiums, just put them in a fairly awkward position. Especially because their deck still isn't reliable. Like, look at all that treasure. It's easy for me to, like, tread water for a turn and wait for them to dud and then strike, so to speak. Okay, that makes some sense. They... Oh, maybe... Well, I wasn't thinking about borrow when I was thinking about filing, but... Right. Top deck 2 minstrels. Right, that looks good. And that looks good. And it doesn't really matter, I suppose. Order is here. We have 3 cards left in our deck. Might as well just do this. Okay, so we got 12 coins. I only need 13 to get Emporium Province. There's no way my opponent can get triple nobles and catch up on... Well, actually, they can. They've got more points than I do right now. I mean, I'll gain... Like, nobles are worth 6, Emporiums are 2. So I'd be a little bit behind. So I kind of need... Maybe I leave the Emporium there and I take double province. Which I can do. Or... Emporium, Province, Duchy, I don't think I can do. So... Yeah, I think it's double province here. And... a little unfortunate that we're going to have this much silver in our deck. But... We've got 3 villagers, so the only situation in which we really dud is if we just hit like all of our stop cards at once. We're not doing this turn anyway. And like I was saying last turn, my opponent is still very capable of dudding with the relative amount of draw and treasures that they have. I mean, they do have a couple villagers, so they can play terminal nobles before finding, you know, minstrel or whatever. And obviously the minstrels help a lot if you do find them. I have not here, but... Not sure why you don't play that minstrel. Scholar does appear to be doing work. It's done good things every turn. So maybe it was wise. Still feel like nobles is probably just better, but I guess if they had bought a nobles instead of a scholar, they would have risked losing to a pile out by this point. They definitely didn't dud here. They've also only got 1 sanctuary, so if they are double provincing, they're going to be... Their deck's going to be getting a little bit worse from that standpoint too. And it looks like they didn't quite draw a deck here. I don't know what they top decked. Or maybe they're going to play another card, but they don't have another patrician. They do have another minstrel. Or should. I think we split them 5-5. Yeah, it's possible I wasn't as far ahead as I thought here. Or that I needed to go for provinces more aggressively when my opponent's deck still hadn't come together. I believe that. Not that to say that I think I'm losing or anything, but it feels like the game is closer than it probably should be. Huh. Maybe they specifically were looking to... So this turn they had 18 coins. They get to 19 if they borrow. It's still pretty far from being able to hit triple province, especially if you consider like sculptor... Or sorry, like one of the druids was used for a coin, so if the druid is like gaining a card, it's not... Oh. Alright. I would have taken Emporium over Duchy, but Well, maybe not. Maybe not. I can see the argument there. But if my opponent goes for duchies, like, I should win the duchy dance because I have the extra sanctuary. So, I mean... we don't have another patrician in hand. Oh, this is annoying. We want to gain something with Druid, and maybe we just don't. Right now we've got 14 coins. We got to get it to 16 there. So what's the play here? It's 23 to empty on Nobles plus Emporium. 22 after Borrow. We're 6 short of that, so we can't hit that. If we take province and some duchies, my opponent is also pretty... They had 18. In theory, if they got... I guess if they gained a silver blade and managed to Druid discard for silver and draw it while playing the other one for coin, they could do it, but man, that seems unlikely that they can do that. Like, I'm not even able to do that right now, really. Partially because I didn't line my patricians up, but... I don't know. I think I'd... Is there a world in which my opponent triple provinces and I still win? Maybe not. Maybe not. So then... in that case, do we want to... Let's see. We've already got enough money to afford province double duchy if we just sculpt for silver. So that means the Druid could be used. Like, the problem is we can't... like, getting that estate is what I'm thinking about, but I don't think there's a good way to do it, because we got 2 cards on top. We need to draw them both. And then if we drew a discard, we can't draw that. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. So I think we just take Druid as coin. Yeah. Yeah, the Druid just doesn't do anything. And that is all there is to it. At least not that I can see. I hate having to take another silver here, but... oh gosh. This is not a good looking hand. It's actually, well, depending on what else is in my opponent's hand, that's actually pretty strong. The early Sun's Gift. Although I think it guarantees that they can't triple, so that's good news. So now that I have 18 coins, I can end the game, in theory, on Nobles plus Emporium if I need to. It's hard to imagine a situation in which I would need to. Because, like, the duchies are low enough that that becomes a thing. And obviously, if my opponent buys a province, then it's easier to just double province. They didn't discard any cards with the Sun's Gift, which is actually maybe a good thing. I don't know. Their Sanctuary didn't even find anything to exile. They don't actually have that many draw cards, I guess. I've got 3 nobles, they've got 2 and a scholar. Well, I guess that's the same number. I've got 1 more patrician than they do. And less green in my deck, I think. Oh, I guess I don't. We have the same number right now, which is all that really matters. All right, yeah, they didn't come close to drawing deck here. So we should be in pretty good shape. Assuming I don't dud. Which is possible. It would make me very sad. My opponent could dud too. I don't know what they're supposed to do, honestly. I think they have to assume that I am going to dud and go, like, for at least 1 province. But yeah, I don't really know. It's too bad Patrician can't draw silvers and Wandering Minstrels. Then the deck would really be cooking. I wouldn't be so concerned about a dud here. If you find 1 nobles, it's probably fine. Okay, well, that means that even if I draw a whole bunch of silver, I might be able to just win off of buying province. Feels minstrel. Oh boy. Oh boy. We got a sculpt for druid here. Probably should have done that before I played the patrician. Up deck's 3 Wandering Minstrels. Okay. This is gonna be rough. Now I want the Minstrel first. Discards 3 silvers. Gotta be kidding. You've gotta be kidding me! Why? Unfreaking believable. I all three of my nobles are in these 7 cards. And I couldn't even... it's just freaking terrible. Why couldn't I have found 1 nobles? Well, guess we buy Emporium? It's just so frustrating. Maybe my opponent will dud. But... what? Found a druid? Come on. Yeah, as it turns out, I don't think that playing or sculpting for druid before I played that other patrician would have helped. Just based on what I ended up seeing. Oh, come on. Why do you get to find a nobles? What is this? Three nobles in this hand. Borrowed for duchy. That was just... I mean, hitting 1 province should not have been that hard. Like, I had, even if I was going to dud, all I needed was, 4 silvers or 3 silvers with the Emporiums. No. No. Okay, so... Goons board with Minion and Minstrel. So you can, like... You can do a DTX thing here. Trashing options are not great. Trader to get rid of coppers may not be insane, given like how strong the payload is and how much time potentially there's going to be with the goons attack and all that. Could open desperation for goons, which is interesting. We're not going to want to add treasures to our deck. I'm thinking about Chariot Race as a consequence, even though like it's not going to do anything right now. Like eventually it might have some value. I want to get an expand. I think I am going to Desperation for goons. I think it's that valuable. Really want to start hitting the minstrels just to like cycle. And yeah, I will do that before taking a raider. I mean, there is an argument. Well, that what I really want is like Caravan or something. I do want to try to hit like 5 for minion, 6 for or 7 for expand, that sort of thing. Could also get an engineer. I'm gonna take the minstrel. I want to cycle to my goons, and then I can think about engineer. I don't like trading for silvers. Oh, I got a victory point. Amazing. Oh my god, I hit expand. That was so lucky. Holy shit. That was ridiculous. What the heck? That should not have happened. Alright, so do we take another chariot race here, or do we take engineer? I don't particularly want to be in debt going into my goon's turn. Or house. So I think I'm going to take a chariot race. Excellent. Alright, this has got to be minion. At some point here, we want engineer or trader, but I think I need another minstrel first. Yeah, that lucky expand turn was pretty huge. Pretty huge. Because that's going to help me bootstrap so much. And if like I was like spinning, hitting like 3 and 4 all the time, like I wasn't necessarily ever going to get there unless I decided to dip into like silver or something. So very glad for that. Plus, you know, there's the goons attack potentially coming in now. Not this turn. I guess I can imagine a world in which I never get trader and I just expand. I mean, it trashes just as many cards as trader, so... So we could get a second goons here. But I think I would rather expand into chariot race and grab another minion. I guess there would be no reason not to play the chariot races first. Oh, cool. Now we can minion for discard. Which doesn't actually do anything as an attack, but we get to cycle. All right. So we think this might be double minstrel. This is a familiar looking hand. I guess I actually want the minstrel first, even though it's less likely to win the race, because I want to be able to play the minstrel before the minion. Alright, didn't matter. That doesn't matter either. We're just going to chuck all this anyway. I guess we know they have a silver on top, so there's no point in playing chariot race into chariot race. Do this. Oh, wait. They don't have a... Right. Okay, that is how that works, isn't it? How many cards have I discarded here? Shuffled, discard an estate. Discard 2 coppers. It's 3, 4... Yeah, we don't want to trigger that shuffle at all, do we? Not at all. Alright, I don't think we need to go double minstrel here, although it's a little unfortunate. I want to buy another Goons. It's a little unfortunate I can't afford anything else of value if I do that. I think getting the second Goons is going to be quite valuable. It's probably worth it. I could go Goons Engineer. Actually, you know what? I like that. Because our deck's starting to hum a little bit. Oh, Goons. Well, we can make them discard in a second here, I guess. Alright, we want Goons first for this chariot race. I have a big points lead. My opponent is not playing their Goons very much. I think the problem is that they don't have enough minstrels. Revealed Goons again? Well, that's just rude. I guess we play these. Okay, well, we don't really want to trigger that shuffle either, I would imagine. We've discarded enough stuff. I mean, it's hard to say for sure. We throw another minstrel in there, maybe it's fine. We'd even trash the engineer and rebuy it. Alright, yeah, let's do that. How is this going to work? It's going to trigger a shuffle. I think we have to do that. Do that. Yeah, okay, there we go. Bang. Alright, this looks like another minion to me. to get some water. Okay, I'm back and nothing has happened. Yeah, I think it's becoming pretty clear that the trader is just not good here. It's better to just cycle past the cards with Minstrel than to bother to try to clean them up with trader. I mean, at this point, I could probably take one and use it, but the point is, like, the early trader, I think, was a mistake on my opponent's part. I'm not really sure what they're thinking about here. I could be thinking about resigning, maybe. I mean, I think that would be reasonable, to be honest, but... Oh, they disconnected. Okay, that is a thing. To be sure. I mean, there is probably a lot of game left, but I do feel like I have a pretty substantial lead. All right, it doesn't matter what order we do this stuff in. I think it is ideal that you play your first minion before goons, because that way your opponent has fewer options for their discard down, but it's not a big deal. Files are actually pretty low. Maybe there isn't that much game left. 2 Minstrels and a Chariot Race, which I will probably... the majority of which I will probably snatch up here. Cool. No Minstrel? Well, that's... I actually wonder if I should discard this minion, because I have a lot of Minstrels in there. Yeah. Silver, okay, so we can play both of these. Optic Chariot Race. Minstrels. Top deck my expand. How much have I discarded? Copper Estate. Copper Estate. Copper, and then 2, so 5 cards. So I'm gonna discard 2 of them, or like leave 2 of them on top if I play this Minstrel. Honestly, that's not that bad, especially with the minion attack coming potentially. I'm okay with it. Be able to play the expand, grab another minion. I think I am just gonna drive piles here. Yeah, totally fine. Yeah, it was pretty over. All right. Well, I definitely offset some of my bad luck from the previous game. I mean, it was lower leverage. Like, maybe I win without the lucky expand buying turn there anyway, but I mean, it definitely helps. Okay, we broke serve again. Hopefully we can maintain advantage here. So not much in the way of draw on this board. Basically just hireling. By basically I mean totally just hireling. I don't think I want to wave the front. I've got another 5-2. That's ridiculous. Not so sure that's good here. But I'm certainly not going to buy anything on the 2 anyway, so... Whoop. So what have we got in terms of like anything that we can do here? There's not much trashing. I guess the trashing option is sewers, essentially. With Grave Robber. Yeah. Or Death Cart. So from that perspective, like Idle and Swamp Hag stuff looks pretty alright. University... no. It's hard to draw. And University is a stop card. There's plenty of villages in the form of Workers' Village. So we go Swamp Hag. Or Idle. How good is a boon gonna be? I think we are gonna want to get some hirelings, probably. Swamp Hag in the end is gonna be better at that. Though it might miss the shuffle while it's doing it, so. It's gonna be hard to line idols up for cursing purposes, so I guess maybe Swamp Hag is better. Alright, now the question is, do I buy sewers? I could also get Workshop or Snowy Village, or Silver, I suppose. And yeah, Swamp Hag's gonna miss the shuffle. It's gonna be really hard to leverage sewers anytime soon. Like, we have to get Grave Robber, we have to do things with Grave Robber. It's gonna be pretty tough. Workshop gaining workers' villages is not too bad. Maybe somewhat superfluous. Maybe Snowy Village is better. Like, we're not going to be playing a ton of terminals every turn, so Snowy Village is going to put in work. Yeah, I think I'll get a Snowy Village. With the Swamp Hag in our deck, we're going to probably want some plus buy at least. Alright, well now we got the same choice. So... it certainly wouldn't hurt to get a silver. We could pick up the Workshop. Excuse me. If there was like strong draw, think about doing stuff with Miser, but there is not, so that looks pretty bad. Not that I can buy Miser right now anyway, but just in terms of what a Workshop would be doing, other than gaining workers' villages, which past like the first couple isn't really that relevant. I mean, it can also gain stuff that you can trash with Grave Robber, but not into Province. Maybe that is an argument for University. I don't know. I think I'm just going to take a silver. Buy sewers, why not? Why not? Alright, I'm going to get a hireling. Second Swamp Hag, I think. And trash Necropolis with Grave Robber, that's exciting, I guess. Or maybe we never get any of that stuff and we just play like no thinning deck with Swamp Hags. I don't know. Because it's just so slow, all of it. So very slow. University could gain Hireling. I would be a lot more excited about it. Yeah, I just can't see where Workshop is going to be any good. I think I'm going to grab another silver. Please let me find a Swamp Hag here. Thank you. Buy another Hireling? Could buy a province. I don't think that's correct. Well, I do have Hovel in my hand. If I had Sewers, well, if I had Sewers, I wouldn't have another card to trash. What are the odds that I have 6 next turn? Probably not great. I mean, I've got my Necropolis down there. I've got my... But I guess I don't have much... Like, Necropolis and Overgrown Estate are the only... I only need to hit 3. So maybe it's guaranteed, actually, that I can still buy another Hireling. Alright, screw it. Oh, especially with the Hireling that I already have down, drawing an extra card. Guaranteed. Yeah, I am leaning away from anything to do with Grave Robber. It's just gonna take so long to line up. Or not long, but like it's gonna be hard to line up. Trash that Necropolis. And that is nice for sure. I wonder if I should leave Snowy on top here. Assuming I draw Copper, why would I play it? Yeah, why would I play it? Oh, there's... Crap. Is a Hireling worth a curse? I mean, it might be? My opponent only has 1 Swamp Hag. I kind of think not. Maybe I'll just buy Sewers. I guess it's possible I should get a grave robber just so I can use sewers. All right, so kind of thinking third swamp hag, honestly. Yeah, let's do it. Dang, I can afford province again. I kind of... The way this game is working, I kind of feel like I should just take that. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but... All right, so we got swamp hag. I think I'm just gonna buy nothing. Play swamp hag, buy nothing. Well, frog the snowy village. Fun. Interactive gameplay of doing nothing because of swamp hag. Will-o-wisp's good. I do not think buying another hireling is worth a curse. All right, so we got 9 here. And the question is, do we want to play Snowy Village to try to draw into another swamp hag? I guess so. Nope. It feels like I'm doing this wrong, but so far so good. I mean, I'm happy that my opponent's not going to play swamp hag here. All right, so we frog one swamp hag, we play the other one. And we buy... what? Could buy a grave robber. Yeah, I think that probably makes the most sense. At least now we represent the threat. Dang. I am hagged. I don't see much point in playing the Snowy Village. I don't really want to buy anything either. given there's a Swamp Hag in the trash. My opponent only has 2. There's a good chance they're not going to play one this turn. I wonder if because of Grave Robber, it's actually better to buy Grave Robber or Swamp Hag over gold if I end up falling short of 8. I don't think at this point it makes too much sense to buy Hireling, though I could be wrong. Not sure. Okay, so it's either another Grave Robber or another Swamp Hag, I guess. I'm leaning Swamp Hag. The triple Hireling is pretty strong, I will say. No. Excuse me. Alright, I guess we play the Snowy Village. 7. Damn it. Is this ever going to get better? We've seen 2 of our 3 provinces, so maybe. And at some point, we've got to take a curse, probably. But, yeah, there's a good chance that I hit province here. As it turns out, if I had top decked Snowy Village, that probably would have been better. Didn't buy anything, so drawing the silver wasn't helpful. Now we've had it to play both of these Swamp Hags, instead of frogging one of them. No! Oh! Ooh. Well, so the situation here is that if I had a Grave Robber in my hand, I would win, but I don't. As it is, because he lined up his idols. If he hadn't lined up the idols, I would still have this, but he did. Does it even make sense to frog the Swamp Hag given that? Probably not. Well, maybe I should have. I mean, I'm probably just going to lose this turn. I was a little too down on the possibilities of this game. Okay. I mean, my Grave Robber was the last card in my deck. If I see my Grave Robber there sometime earlier in the shuffle, I probably do actually win that game. So, I don't know. Maybe what I was doing was not actually wrong. Yeah, I think, yeah, on second thought, like, it's not expected that Grave Robber bottom decks. If I find the Grave Robber, I can almost certainly, like, take another province and then just, like, buy a duchy and win. So I guess I should have taken Curse Duchy the turn that I hit 7. That arguably was a mistake. My opponent had a little bit more reach than I expected them to. All right, so this time we've got what? Complicated stuff or rebuild, I guess, are the two options. We want to plan on something? Mining Village or Diplomat or something? We definitely do draw stuff with like University Diplomat, Mining Village. But not like, it's not a lot of draw. I don't know if there's like a good develop thing you can do. I can imagine it being the case that rebuild is the way to go here. Okay, it's got to be either plan or silver. If it's rebuild, it's definitely silver. It's not, I think it's plan ocean. Plan probably on diplomat. Or it does look pretty weak. If go for rebuild, anything on this board that's like helping us out, so we could get Navigator. Bad card, but it does cycle, at least has the potential to. That could be our terminal. Can accelerate us to the rebuild faster. I think I am going to go for that, actually. I think I believe that the build outpaces or keeps up, whatever, with rebuild. Trashing is slow. The draw is limited. The gains are limited. I mean, you get +5 from Messenger, but it's not that good. University isn't gaining especially good cards. You can Messenger, as the rebuild player, you can Messenger for estates. Usually taking estates with rebuild isn't good, but it might hurt the opponent and not hurt you, and potentially help you if you need more duchies. Usually that's not what you want, but... Fortunately, we didn't see our Navigator at the top of the shuffle, so now we actually kind of want to see it in the bottom two cards so that we don't like have to trigger a shuffle with it? No such luck. I mean, we discard, we end up discarding most of the cards anyway, so I guess it's fine. In fact, I guess it comes out to the same thing. No, not quite, because we're going to top deck 3 cards instead of 2. So all 3 of our estates. Sad. Now, we do have Way of the Mule. So we can actually consider getting like second navigator, second messenger, that sort of thing. I might actually do that here with navigator specifically. All right, I think we're going second rebuild here. Hopefully we don't discard our other navigator. And we did. All right, we do not want duchesses. University into rebuild? I don't know about that. All right, do I want a silver? I guess I want a silver. We're going to trigger a shuffle here. If we name duchy, which is what we want to do, because we just saw both of our estates, unfortunately. Yeah, this could be a pretty unfortunate draw situation. I don't really understand this hybrid strategy. Oh. Interesting. I didn't have to shuffle? I'm confused. Oh, I must have seen estate duchy in my hand. Okay. Well, I do want to buy... Do I want to buy another rebuild, or do I want to buy a duchy? I want to buy a duchy, actually. Well, either way, I'll play the navigator, discard all of that. Hopefully we see our other rebuild in those 7 cards. Got 1 estate left and 2 duchies. Got 3 duchies. I think that is what we want. Yes. And we don't have our estate in hand, which is great. And we hit 5 again, which is also great. This is all looking pretty good at this point. Like, by the time my opponent plays a rebuild, they're going to be helping me more than they help themselves, I think. Also, they trashed an estate off of plan, I think. Yeah. I don't think the strategy is coherent. Yeah, so here we name duchy, we get rid of our last estate. Or no, wait. Did we just get rid of our last estate? No, we didn't. There's 3 estates in the trash. They've trashed one of them. I've trashed 2. I have 1 estate and 3 duchies. Need to keep track. But yeah, we trash our last estate into a duchy. We'll have 4 duchies. We're going to buy a duchy, and then we're going to have 5 duchies. Unfortunately, we're triggering a shuffle here. What can you do? That is almost province. If it was, I would consider keeping it. But it is not, so I will not. All right, well, we only hit 2, but that's okay. Because we got a rebuild in hand. We're not buying a state, I can tell you that. Unfortunate. Unfortunate. Guess we could buy a mining village here. It's like a completely harmless thing to put in our deck. I could have afforded duchy here, that would have been so nice. But you can't have everything. My opponent has 4 rebuilds, but only, well, I guess they bought an estate, but like they're gonna potentially run out of. So like, I guess they only have 1 estate left. Okay, so I guess they can still get the last duchy. Unfortunate, as I said. I mean, I guess I could still get lucky and my opponent could fail to grab it next turn, but I'm not counting on that. What is the consideration here? You don't want to buy a duchess, I promise. You don't want to buy another university. I don't think you even really want to buy silver. Thinking about buying university. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. My gosh. Once again, that is 7. Three duchies in hand. Yeesh. But we do have another duchy down there we can get. I can imagine it being correct here if my opponent doesn't take duchy for me to trash duchy to duchy. To deny them the duchy. Have to think about that. Comes up. Man, I really hope I don't skip my other rebuild. But I guess it's almost guaranteed that I will. Is it guaranteed? Might be guaranteed. 18 points. 4 duchies in a province. I've already seen. Yeah, Mike. This shuffle has not been a friendly shuffle. That's for sure. Oh man, opponent is really taking their time with this, or they're disconnecting again. Names duchy, right? There goes the last. All right, so now I don't have to worry about that. Oh, all right. Well, I can definitely buy province here, so that's good. So I've discarded every time. I'm just realizing I hadn't had to reorder my cards at any point. You have estates? You don't have estates. Why would you want an estate? That's crazy. All right, we don't actually need to trash the mining village, so I won't. On the one hand, that is a hand with a rebuild in it. On the other hand, I mean, what's the worst that happens if I discard? Like, I'm guaranteed to see the other rebuild, right? So I guess we'll discard. We also make sure we have a duchy available. We hit 4. Yeah, that's unfortunate, but... I mean, we can buy a mining village, whatever. Anyway, I think this is pretty over at this point. Me being able to buy a province there, and just like the distribution of rebuildable cards in our decks. My opponent got so many rebuilds. It's crazy. Like, even if my opponent rebuilt right now into 4 provinces, they would still be 2 points short. So I don't know how they come back from this. I mean, they have to buy provinces, I guess, is the answer, but playing the rebuilds is just helping me, so it's, I don't know. So they have to keep their duchies. Buying the estates, I mean, I guess it does something, but... meh. So now if my opponent gets 2 provinces, they're at 29. If they, that is without trashing duchies. Like, there's a world in which it's correct for me to buy a state here, but you can't. I was gonna say, you can't win if you do that, but okay, maybe they just wanted to end the game. I don't know. Great. All right. Well, that was interesting. All right, I feel pretty validated, although I don't think my opponent played the university diplomat stuff the way that I would have, but... well, well, well. I was actually just thinking about how we've had second player advantage all through this match so far, and it was like first is worst, second is best, and then, you know, third is the one with the treasure chest, and now we can get the treasure chest. Amazing. But yeah, in terms of what this board is actually doing, I'll tell you what it's not doing. Offering plus buy. There's plenty of draw, but gains are going to be hard to come by. I mean, basically, I think what we want to do is thin down with Sentry and get some Wayfarers or Swashbucklers to get payload, and I'm not totally sure which, but I actually think it's Swashbuckler, because how are you going to discount Wayfarer unless you already have a Wayfarer? I guess there's like trashing Theodem. But yeah, how does raid work? Well, I mean, I guess you could do a thing with Theodem and raid and Wayfarer and just get all the silvers. Maybe it is good because of the gain limitation. Well, regardless of any of that, I think we want to open Sinister Plot and silver. I could definitely see it being, like, not effective to do the Fatum thing because it's, like, too slow or whatever, but... I can also see it working out. Do we just draw here? I think so. Damn it, I want my silver. Or just card it? Yes, so... Alright, so... this is a pretty pivotal buy decision. We can get another Sentry, which is sort of kicking the can down the road, and possibly excessive given the board. We go for Swashbuckler. Swashbuckler will not be too difficult to activate with Sentry in general. And Minstrel. Sentry and Minstrel. Oh, I guess we can't actually buy a Wayfarer, so it's not as pivotal as I was thinking. But still, I mean, in general, We want to go for silver stuff. Silver per silver you haven't played. Yeah. We want to go for, if we want to go for silver stuff, then I think, well, it's not Swashbuckler anyway. I don't know. Phantom doesn't actually give you that many points is the thing. If you have the whole, you have like 30 silvers, I guess that is a lot of points. But for this to be worth province money, you need 18 silvers. It's a lot. You don't have a way to gain phantoms. So do we go for straight for Swashbuckler? I think I'm going to Swashbuckler. Maybe if I'd hit 6, I'd get Wayfarer, but go straight for Swashbuckler, get another sentry. I think I'm going to go straight for Swashbuckler. All right, hopefully we don't draw exactly a state here. We did not. And I would like a minstrel. Oh, we can draw... No, that doesn't help. Eh. Do I play the Swashbuckler? I mean, it might help. I could draw a sentry or a minstrel, but it doesn't help me activate or like get the coffer. That's what I actually wanted. I mean, obviously, you know, playing the Swashbuckler means I could probably hit 5 or whatever, but maybe I'm better off not triggering the shuffle and making a minstrel. Draw 1. Worst case scenario, I draw an estate. Still buy a minstrel. I still have like minstrel sentry coming up. Yeah, I mean the draw is going to be higher leverage now than it's ever going to be later, I guess. So I'm going to take it. All right. I think we're better off not playing the Swashbuckler given that. And I think I'm going to take another one. Another one. I would be really interested to see how effective a silver-based strategy is on this board. I can definitely believe it would be good. I think we want to discard this. We got 2 Swashbucklers in those 5 cards. And if we just draw the silver, the problem is we're going to top deck 2 Swashbucklers with no minstrels and such, so... Okay, well, I guess we should draw those last 2 cards. I think this is minstrel number 2. I think that's going to do more work for me than sentry right now. Yeah, here we go. Ouch. Draw 3 and just hit nothing? That's pretty unlikely. Well, you can buy province. I don't know if you should, but you can. Alright, we discarded. Hooray, hooray. Think we discarded 2 cards. Yeah, there's not a way to get another coffer here, is there? I don't think so. As we trash this Sentry, we're going to have an increasing amount of trouble actually evading the Swashbuckler, which is going to be an issue. I almost wonder if I shouldn't trash these, but nah, it seems incorrect. So we can just buy gold and then start provincing, and then that will add cards back into our deck. We could also raid just to mess with our opponent, and then we still get like a silver out of it, which is enough for us to province. But it'd be nice to be able to trash coffers. Buy a Phaeton and trash it into silvers. Yeah, I think I'll raid. We can always not trash with the Sentry this turn if we want. I wonder when we're actually going to want... Okay, hold on. We have a Swashbuckler on top. We play the Minstrel. It's going to discard cards. Yeah, we got to play the Sentry. And not trash. Or discard. By province. Top deck to Sentry. Dang it! I want to draw my Swashbuckler. Oh, wait. Okay. Okay. We don't have, we might want to pop the plot here. We don't have villagers or anything. I'm going to want to start trashing out the rest of my junk here. Hopefully I see, like... Well, the other question is whether I draw with the plot. If I draw with the plot, I can still Activate the Swashbuckler. I think. Draw 4 cards. I have 5 cards left. If I find Minstrel, which is pretty likely. I actually want to keep the estate around. 4 estates in the trash, so we each have trashed 2. Let's see it. I think it's gotta be correct for me to draw, right? Well, maybe not, because if I take the chest, then I can spend the coffers. And then I still have the draw in my pocket. And I don't need to draw much to be able to take the chest. Yeah. Okay. Well, we want to trash a copper here. Minstrel's going to discard some cards for us anyway. We can discard the other Minstrel. We can trash copper, discard Minstrel. We play Minstrel, we draw a card. We discard at most 3 cards. That's 4 cards. That could actually... Well, Minstrel's guaranteed to discard other cards. So let's just trash and not discard the other Minstrel. All right, there it is. And now we can just... Now we just need to get golds. And I mean, so long as I hit province every turn, which I only have to do 2 more times, I win. I have 3 coffers with which to do it. I think, given that, it may be correct for me not to draw here. But then again, if I don't spend the coffers this turn, maybe it is correct for me to draw this turn. I mean, it's like crazy overdraw. But if I don't spend any coffers, like I said, and if I can trash a couple coppers... Wait a minute. Oh, I don't win. Because my opponent has a nobles. And never mind. I thought for some reason... Okay, in that case, we have to buy a duchy. Which is fine, I guess. It also means that we don't need to... So we can trash that. Discard that. Do that. Buy duchy. So how do I end up winning this game? I think I don't trigger this shuffle. Discarded. I've got my sentry on top. I've discarded province. Yeah. I was gonna try to track all the cards, but never mind, it doesn't matter. My opponent never whiffs. Certainly win. they don't, then I'm in trouble because I have to buy. I have 2 silvers. So, like, Fatum isn't worth anything. I mean, my opponent has to be more likely to dud just by virtue of like, not having the coffers. Somehow have managed, their deck seems to be pretty small. But I wonder if they're consistently capable of hitting Province. They don't have much money. They don't have any gold. I don't know why they're thinking about this. Like, it's clearly a duchy buy. If you buy, like, nobles, say, then I get an extra duchy. And then that's how you lose. Yeah. Of course, my opponent's also building up tokens, so they can't, like, really lose either. I mean, what am I saying? They can't really whiff too much. Oh, they just popped their plot. That's good. That's good. I mean, surely they're going to be able to buy duchy, but I wonder if that means this is the turn I should just buy province. I guess I should pay attention to... Oh, they trash an estate? You madman! Oh, no, wait, I guess it's fine for them to trash estate. Yeah, it's fine for them to trash estate. Okay, so they played... They had a copper and a silver. Like 3 coppers and a silver. They have 1 other silver in their deck. Well, they did just shuffle. They saw their crossroads. What I don't want to do is let them rebuild their plot. So I think at this point I do buy province. Yes! All right, let's go. Boom. Whew, all right. That was, yeah, that was nerve-wracking. I don't agree that they hardly had a chance. I think they had to not pop the plot. Maybe they didn't. And maybe the problem was that they were just, their deck was struggling more than I realized. Like, I just saw them buying duchy every turn. I was like, well, I guess they're doing fine. But I guess they weren't. Like, I had flooded my deck with gold, so and I had the coffers, so I could counteract all the green coming in, and they like had 8 money in their entire deck by the end. Okay, yeah, they weren't very likely to be able to buy province. I didn't actually realize it was that bad for them. I mean, I guess by doing what I was doing, it's possible that I had like a guaranteed or virtually guaranteed win earlier at some point when they had like a low plot, but I don't know. In any case, the consequence of all this is that I am 1 win away from promotion. I have 3 games left, so I have to win 1 out of my remaining 3. That seems pretty doable, but you know, don't take these things for granted. I should be playing that match on Saturday. I'm not sure exactly what time, but that's what's been discussed. So hopefully I can clinch at that point. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this went. I think that the one that got away is definitely game 2, which just in the sense that like I feel like I got very unlucky to not be able to even afford province on that last turn, and otherwise was in reasonably good control of the game. What was game 4? I don't remember. Yeah, so I don't know. I think, you know, I'm happy with my assessment of the rebuild board. I'm pretty happy with my assessment of this board. I think that like I said, it would have been interesting to see if you could do a thing with silver. The problem is with it, even with there being several silver gainers, it seems like so hard to like actually get the phantoms themselves. I mean, you had the advantage that if you can make the silvers worth more, you know, and more points, that's something that you can do using Wayfair. You can do that without using your buy. So you can like be pumping up your phantoms while you're doing something else, but I just feel like it's probably too slow. But it would be interesting to see. But other than that, let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I was pretty happy with things overall. Except for that one turn of game 2. I'll have to go back and look at what game 4 was so I can remember whether I should be upset with myself or not. But either way, you know, I'm happy with the overall result because I'm very much in striking distance of promotion. So thanks for watching, and I will hopefully see you Saturday for the conclusion of my league season. Until then.